Welcome back to the deep dive. If you've been paying attention to the tech world since we rang in the new year, you've probably noticed the frequency has changed. That, breathless, frantic energy of the last 2 years, that AI is going to replace your marketing team by next Tuesday vibe, it's gone. It's quieted down.
It really has. If 2024 was the year of wow and 2025 was the year of how, then 2026 feels like the year of now what?
Exactly. Now what? It feels like the industry has finally sobered up. We've moved from that wild party phase, throwing ideas at the wall, into what I'm calling the adulting phase of AI.
That's a good way to put it.
And to help us figure out what this new maturity looks like, we're unpacking the Stanton House Data Analytics and AI Salary Guide 2026.
You and I were going through this, and it's not just a spreadsheet of numbers. It's basically a truth serum for the UK market.
That is the perfect way to put it. A truth serum. Because, companies can lie in press releases. They can lie in mission statements about innovation is their DNA. But they can't lie on their payroll. This report tracks the money. And the money tells us exactly who's being hired, and most importantly, who is actually delivering value now that the hype is dead.
And the headline story here really is this shift in mindset. We're seeing a move away from that broad, expensive experimentation to something much, much sharper.
The word that jumped out at me from the report, and I think this frames our whole conversation, came from Helen Firth, an associate director at Stanton House. She used the word forensic.
Right.
She said hiring has become forensic. It's not just careful. It's we are putting your CV under a microscope.
But it's a necessary reaction to the economic reality. I mean, if we look at the macro picture the report paints for the UK, it's a weird mix.
Sure.
On one hand, the scary inflation of 23 and 24 has calmed down. Interest rates are finally dropping.
Right. So on paper, the economy is healing. You'd think that means open the floodgates, start hiring everyone.
You would think, but there's this massive but. The hangover from the autumn 2025 budget is real. The government raised national insurance contributions, and wage inflation is still sticky.
So for our listeners outside the UK, or just those who don't obsess over tax policy, let's just clarify that. Basically, the government made it a lot more expensive for a company to simply employ a human being on a permanent basis.
Exactly. The cost of seat went up. So even though the economy is growing, the budget for permanent headcount is tighter than ever.
And that's why it has to be forensic.
That's it. Companies aren't asking, could this person be useful? They are asking, if I pay this person $100,000, will I see a direct measurable return on that investment in Q1?
And if the answer is maybe, or in 3 years, then you're not getting hired, which explains one of the wildest stats in this whole document. I have to double check this.
The interim one.
Yeah. Over half, more than 50% of the roles in Stanton House's data and AI team are now interim or fixed term.
That's a massive swing. We've gone from this culture of building empires where a manager wants as many direct reports as possible to a culture of SWAT teams.
It's the dating versus marriage economy.
That's a great analogy. Employers are scared to get married because divorce firing people, it's expensive, it's messy. So they want to date. They want to bring in a high-impact expert for 6 months to solve one problem and then shake hands and part ways.
And this connects to a specific term in the report. Outside IR35. Again, for the global audience, this is a UK tax thing, but the implication is universal.
Right. Outside IR35 basically defines a true business-to-business relationship. It means the contractor isn't just a disguised employee filling a desk. They are an external provider delivering a specific project outcome. The fact that this market is booming tells us companies don't want staff to manage. They want outcomes delivered.
It's the shift from digital expansion to strategic transformation. We aren't just growing for growth's sake. But let me play devil's advocate here.
Go on.
Doesn't this forensic, project-based approach just kill innovation? If I have to prove ROI before I even start, how do I discover the unexpected?
That is the risk. The playground is closed. But the counter-argument and what the report suggests is that we had 2 years of pure innovation where companies spend millions on AI pilots that went nowhere.
Right.
So now the pendulum has swung. They're willing to sacrifice some of that serendipity for reliability.
Which brings us to the people who are meant to be leading all this, the generals. This section on AI leadership, honestly, it felt like reading a tragedy.
The head of AI paradox. Something else.
It's brutal. So looking at the LinkedIn Talent Insights data, we have a supply glut. There are 1,940 professionals in the UK right now with head of AI or director of AI in their job title. That's up 38% from last year. So everyone and their cousin updated their LinkedIn in 2025 to catch the wave.
Everyone wanted to be the captain of the ship?
But here's the crash. At the time this report was compiled, how many active full-time jobs were there for those titles?
37.
37.
Yeah.
You have nearly 2,000 people fighting for 37 chairs. It's not just competitive, it's mathematically impossible for most of these people to get the job they think they're qualified for.
And it highlights this massive disconnect. But you have to ask why companies aren't hiring them. The report says 60% of business leaders see AI as strategically critical.
So if it's that critical, why aren't you hiring a head of AI?
Well, I think it goes back to your adulting theme. The report mentions a bottleneck. It says only 12% of businesses have a fully rolled out AI strategy.
Cool.
Most companies are still at the bottom of the mountain. They realize that hiring a head of AI on a massive salary when you don't even have your beta governance sorted, well, it's like hiring a Formula One driver when you haven't even built the car yet.
It's a total waste of money. And there's a confidence crisis too, right?
Yeah.
The survey showed only 1 in 3 respondents believe their current leaders are confident in guiding AI change.
That's a staggering statistic. It means the C-suite is looking at these head of AI candidates and thinking, I don't even know if I know what I'm doing, so I definitely don't know if you know what you're doing.
So if they aren't hiring the flashy head of AI visionaries, who are they hiring? Because the money's still being spent.
They're looking for what the report calls translational leaders.
Translational leaders. I love that term. It sounds like a diplomat.
In a way, they are. In the past, you could get by being a brilliant technologist who sat in a dark room and built incredible models. Today, that gets you nowhere. The market needs people who can stand in the middle. They need to understand the complex architecture of a large language model, but then turn around and explain the P&L impact to a CFO who hasn't written code in 30 years.
It's the bridge builder.
It is the bridge builder. And frankly, those people are much, much rarer than the ones with head of AI on their LinkedIn.
This bleeds perfectly into the skills section. We've heard about T-shaped people for years, deep in one skill, broad in others. But it seems like in 2026, the T is getting wider and deeper.
The definition has sharpened. The report describes the ideal candidate as part technologist, part consultant.
See, that terrifies a lot of pure engineers. They got into this field to build things, not to consult or make PowerPoint decks.
And I get that fear, but look at the rise of the analytics engineer. This is a role that didn't really exist, or at least wasn't mainstream 5 years ago. It's a hybrid.
Okay.
It's someone who designs the data models and interprets the business logic.
So it's about efficiency again, especially for the private equity firms mentioned in the report. They don't want a relay race.
Exactly.
Where the data engineer passes the baton to the scientist who passes it to the analyst. That's 3 or 4 salaries.
They want one person who can own the data end to end. If you can build the pipeline and tell the story of what the data means, you are arguably twice as valuable as the person who can only do one of those things.
You said storytelling. I almost laughed when I saw that listed as a hard requirement next to Python and SQL. But thinking about it, in this forensic economy, if you can't tell a compelling story about why your salary is justified, you're in trouble.
It's the survival of the most articulate. If you build a model that saves the company £1 million, but you can't communicate that effectively to the board, then in their eyes, you haven't really done anything.
Okay, so we need translational leaders and T-shaped storytellers. But there is another piece of the puzzle that usually makes people's eyes glaze over. But you seem to think it's the secret weapon of 2026.
I will die on this hill.
And that is?
Governance. Governance is the unsexy growth engine of the year.
Unsexy growth engine.
Right.
I like that. Put it on a T-shirt. But seriously, usually when we hear governance or compliance, we just think of the Department of No.
Yeah.
The people who slow everything down.
That is the old way of thinking. In 2026, with the EU AI Act fully in play, the UK AI White Paper Framework's active. Regulation is the landscape. You can't opt out.
Right.
But here's the counterintuitive part. Governance equals speed.
Explain that. How does red tape make you faster?
Think about a racetrack. You can drive a lot faster if you know the crash barriers are strong and the road is smooth.
Okay.
If you're driving in the dark on a cliff edge, you crawl. A private equity advisor in the report nailed this. They said, firms with strong data quality and trust move faster.
Because they aren't afraid of getting sued or leaking data every time they run a new model.
Exactly. If you have clean data and clear protocols, you can deploy AI tools straight away. If you don't, you're stuck in legal limbo for 6 months every time you want to try something new.
So the people who build the guardrails are actually the ones letting the race happen.
And the market knows it. There is a surge in hiring for AI governance, policy, and risk management professionals. And here's the opportunity for you listening. The survey found that 4 out of 5 organizations still lack a formal AI policy.
Wow, 80% are flying blind.
80%. They're using these incredibly powerful tools with no rule book for bias, for copyright, for data leakage. This policy lag is arguably the biggest open goal in the job market right now. If you can walk in and say, I can build the framework that keeps you safe, you are hired.
Okay, we've talked about the roles. Let's talk about the reward. Show me the money. We know budgets are tight, but forensic hiring usually means paying a premium for the right person. So what are the engine room roles commanding right now?
The holy trinity of 2026 is still the data analyst, the data engineer, and the data scientist. But the balance has definitely shifted towards engineering getting the plumbing right.
Give us some benchmarks.
Yeah.
If I'm a top-tier professional in the UK, what am I looking at?
If you are at the absolute top, a permanent chief data officer, you're looking at between, say, £180,000 and £300,000 plus.
Not bad.
A head of AI, assuming you can win one of those 37 jobs, is roughly £130,000 to £250,000. But the real backbone, the data engineer, is sitting solid between £60,000 and £120,000, depending on experience.
But the real shocker for me, and this goes back to our outside IR35 discussion, was the interim market. If you're willing to take that risk of contracting, the numbers are just wild.
This is where the hazard pay comes in. For an interim chief data officer, effectively a mercenary leader brought in to fix a mess, the day rate can go up to £2,200.
£2,200.
Today.
Per day. But remember, you have zero job security, no holiday pay, no pension, and you are expected to deliver results from day one. It's high risk, high reward.
It really reinforces that whole adulting theme. If you want the big money, you have to take the big responsibility. You can't just be a passenger.
Exactly. The market is paying for outcomes, not attendance. So let's bring this all together. We've got forensic hiring, a glut of leaders with no armies, the rise of the hybrid storyteller, and governance as the new accelerator. If you're listening to this and you want to future-proof yourself for the rest of 2026, what's the mindset?
I think you have to embrace the boredom.
Embrace the boredom.
Yes. The exciting sci-fi part of AI is, well, it's done for now. The value is now in the boring stuff. Cleaning data, building pipelines, writing governance policies, explaining ROI to accountants. The people who can find the joy and the profit in that boring execution are the ones who will win.
It's about being the grown-up in the room.
It is, and it's ironic, isn't it? The more advanced the technology becomes, the more the market values pure human intelligence.
Yeah.
Collaboration, adaptability, ethics, storytelling. You can't automate the ability to convince a scared board of directors to trust a new system. That takes a human.
Before we go, I want to leave everyone with a final thought. There was one statistic in the survey that we haven't touched on yet, but it's been nagging at me.
The capability wall.
That's the one. The survey said that 40% of teams say they need major upskilling to keep pace.
Right.
But at the same time, as we've discussed, businesses are prioritizing execution over experimentation. They want people who are ready to go now.
It's a catch-22.
It is. And it raises a scary question. If we are rushing towards execution, but nearly half the workforce feels like they're drowning, are we about to hit a wall? Is the ambition to use AI about to outstrip our human ability to manage it?
I think we are very close to that wall. We might have the software, but we're running out of the middleware, the humans who know how to run it safely and effectively.
And that, listeners, is your opportunity. Be the middleware. Check your skills against that T-shape. Learn to speak business as fluently as you speak Python.
And maybe read up on some governance policies this weekend.
Don't push your luck. Thanks for diving in with us. We'll see you in the next one.